Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're watching on Torah Time, our friends over at Torah Time, or wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts, as always, we're happy to have you along for this adventure. And I wanted to speak about a special holiday that comes out this week. There's a little hint. I don't know if you can figure it out, but it is in fact one of my favorite holidays. It is called Pesach Sheni. Everything you always wanted in Pesach, but less. And the minhag is we don't say tachlin. And at some point you eat matzah. Now I know we miss matzah. Yeah. And this gives us a chance. And as the Chazal tell us, Pesach Sheni was a very special time because you got your korban Pesach, you got matzah, you got marah, and you didn't have to clean up the house. It says you could have matzah and chametz on the table together. And, it's a really fascinating time. And so that's why if you want to eat, your matzah, you can eat it. And you can have it together with actual chametz. You still can't gebrach. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but if you are very careful never to gebrach, here is your chance to finally taste a matzah brei. If you've never tasted a matzah brei, let me share with you my matzah brei recipe that I received al pi Sefira from my father over Shalom. You take 2.5 matzahs, break them up into small pieces. You don't want it to mamish turn into matzah meal, but small pieces. And then you pour hot water on top of it, shake it in the strainer so it gets distributed, get the water out, put it into a mixing bowl, add 4 eggs, beat it together with a little salt, get a frying pan. Not a small frying pan and not a big frying pan, a medium frying pan. Add water to it. Don't do that. Add oil to it. Make sure the oil is hot. It's very important. Not just a little drop of oil, not a spray oil. You have to add some oil to it. There's a little bit on there on the bottom there. But make sure it's really hot. And then you pour it in, smooth it out, and then put something on top of it. I usually put a Corelle plate. That should give you an idea about the size of the frying pan. It should be about the width of a large Corelle plate. Put it on top. Lower the heat a little bit because you don't want it to burn. And after the top is mostly done, once it's not solid, but it's not liquidy. It's not like mamish oozing. Then, depending on your skill set, you either shake it around, slide it onto a plate, turn the plate over, and now do the other side for about a minute. If you're talented, like my father, then you flip it in the air, catch it. If you're not talented like my father, and in the words of Mr. Wizard, kids, don't try this at home, because then you'll have a big gloppy mess all over the place. But if you can do it, it is one of those cool things that we do. I usually let it go a little bit, then I do another flip, mostly to show off, and take it out. There are 2 ways you can eat it. You can either go with the eggs and put salt on top of it, have it salty, or you can go with the matzah part and have it more like a pancake, put some sugar on it, put a little pancake syrup, whatever you like. And this is it. This is Pesach Sheni. So what's going on with this holiday? Partly it's an opportunity for you to use up all that leftover matzah that you still have. Yeah. Some years I don't have any matzah left. I have to go borrow matzah from somebody. But what's the logic of this particular yontif? And I'll explain to you why I find it particularly meaningful. It's in Baal Oischa. Baal Oischa describes for you the only Pesach they were supposed to have in the Midbar, because we came out of Egypt on Pesach. We traveled 7 weeks in the desert to Har Sinai. We received the Torah on Shavuos. We waited 40 days and 40 nights till Moshe came down with the second luchos. Unfortunately, we miscalculated. And he comes down and finds on Shavas B'Tammuz that we had built a golden calf, Egel Zahav. He breaks the luchos. He says, I'm going to go up for another 40 days and see if I can get God to forgive you. He goes up another 40 days. God forgives us. And then he goes up a third set of 40 days to get the second set of luchos, second 10 commandments. And he comes down on Yom Kippur. Somebody said to me, it's strange how everything tends to happen around the holidays. I guess everybody was off anyway, right? And then he tells us to build the Mishkan. We start collecting all the material. We start building the Mishkan on the 15th of Tishrei. And then the Anani HaKavod, the clouds of glory that had left us, come back again. The Vilna Gaon says the significance of Sukkot, why it's about the Anani HaKavod, the clouds of glory, is because they came back when we started building the Mishkan. We finished the Mishkan on the 25th of Kislev, which in the future would become a holiday. And then the last week of Adar, we practiced putting it up. We put it up and take it down. We put it up and take it down for a week. And then on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, we put it up for good. That's the Mishkan. And then the Nesiim, the princes of each Shevet, brought their offerings, starting with Yehuda. And every day another Nasi brought his set of korbanos. That went on for 12 days. And on the 12th of Nisan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, this is the only Korban Pesach you're going to bring in the desert, because after this you're going to go into Eretz Yisrael. Won't be any need for another one. And he announces that on the 14th, we're going to bring our Korban Pesach, and on the 15th, we're going to eat it. We're going to have celebrate Pesach in the desert. And some people come to Moshe, and they say, Moshe, we're tummy. So he says, yeah. He says, but we want to bring the Korban Pesach. He says, I understand, but you can't bring it when you're tummy. You know that. Lamani Gore. Why should we be left out? We don't want to be left out. It's not our fault. According to one view in the Gemara, these were the people transporting Yosef's bones. We were doing a mitzvah. We were doing what we were told. Why should we get left out? So Moshe says, listen, that's how life works. Sometimes you have an opportunity, and listen, you blow it. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Jackie Mason says every Jew knows a building he could have bought 50 years ago for $100. See that building? I could have bought that building. They talked me out of it. I could have been a rich man today. Everybody has opportunities, and opportunities slip away. Yeah. There was a guy called the Mezuzah Rebbe, Ben Tov. And he would look at your mezuzah and tell you, he'll answer questions for you, because since the mezuzah is like a shield that protects your house, you can see what happened. So a friend of mine, Rabbi Baruch Rabinowitz, Shlita, he was asked once to translate for him. And this fellow comes to him with his mezuzah, and he looks at the mezuzah and he says, you're trying to find a shidduch? He says, yeah. He says, you already went out with your bashet, and you told him no. And Baruch said at the end, when he was leaving, this guy was sitting outside on the steps, had a list of every girl he ever went out with, trying to figure out who it was. Sometimes opportunities slip out of our hands. What can you do? What can you do? Abi Ibn, foreign minister, Israel's foreign minister, once said about the Palestinians that they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Quick perusal of Jewish history will show you that unfortunately the Jews have a similar philosophy. How many times were we so close and it slipped away? We just had in Daf Yomi. Those of you who follow Daf Yomi, as you know, I give an online Daf Yomi share. You can go to the website and sign up for it if you like. But we give a Daf Yomi share. And we just had the story. If Dovid HaMelech had not accepted the Lashon Hara about Mephibosheth, and he hadn't split the field that belonged to Mephibosheth, it says the kingdom never would have been split. And if the kingdom was never split, then Yerovim ben Nevat would never have put up the golden calves that he put up to stop the people from going back to the Beis Hamikdash. The Jews wouldn't have served the Avodah Zarah. The Jews would not have gone into Gullus. Not a pretty heavy message. Look how terrible it is. I accept the Lashon Hara. I'm going to feel better about it afterwards, but sometimes just can't undo a situation. The famous story where these two girls were talking on a bus about their friend Shani, Khani, Bani, whoever it was. And they said, "Do you believe he got engaged?" She says, "Yeah, well, He says, "Yeah, but to a really good boy." Who? Moshe Moskowitz, He says, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, but she's not so sanua. She was talking to boys, she went here, she did this, and she got such a good boy." So this woman sitting in front of them turns around and says, "Thank you so much. I'm Moshe Moskowitz's mother. I didn't know any of this about her. I'm going home now to break off the shidduch." These two girls were devastated. They, of course, didn't want that. A few stops later, she goes to get off the bus. She turns to them and says, "I'm not Moshe Moskowitz's mother, but I could have been." And sometimes we say things, we do things, and we'd like to believe there are no consequences. Somebody made a lot of mistakes in his marriages. He was the first one to tell me he made a lot of mistakes. And his wife decided, threw him out of the house and wanted again. And he started putting his life back together. He became a Breslover. And he said to me, Rav Nachman always says, believe if you can be Mekalkel, there could be Metaken. I'm going to fix this situation. The day after he gave his wife a get, sometime later, I said to my wife, guess it's not always true. Right to believe you could always get rid of everything. My friend Benji Reisman told me a story about a guy from family. Suddenly became wealthy very quickly. I mean, a ridiculous amount of money. And he left his wife and children for years. Started running around with models and actresses and started getting involved in all kinds of party scenes and stuff, for years. And at some point, he blew through his money. He looked at his life. And he comes back home. And the children look at him and say, what do you want me to say? Hello, Tati. You left us. You don't get a do-over on that. You missed all the years. You missed my bar mitzvah. You missed it. Suddenly you show up now and you want everything to be back the way it was. The Meraglim came back from Eretz Yisrael and they said, that's it. Eretz Yisrael is going to kill us. We don't stand a chance. And they went from house to house, shaking hands with everybody, saying goodbye. He says, listen, tomorrow we're all going to die. It's over. It's over. Moshe Rabbeinu might survive, but the rest of us are all dead. And the people cried that night. And Kosh Baruch Hu said, after everything I've done for them, I destroyed Egypt. I destroyed Amalek. I destroyed everything you saw me do. I split the sea. I brought down the mun. After everything that I've done, you still don't believe in me? Forget it. You guys are not going to go into Eretz Yisrael and go off into the desert. You're going to die, and that's the end. So the people hear this, and they get up the next morning, and they get dressed, and they put on their sword, and they get their helmets, and they get their things. They go, come, we're going to go and conquer Israel. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, that ship has sailed. You lost that opportunity. And the people said, but we had one bad night. I mean, cut us a little slack. What do you want us to do? I want you to go into the desert and die. Your children will go there. So you mess up sometimes. That's how it is. I feel really bad. This woman went hiking. Just happened today. She poses on some rock up on a mountain to have her picture taken. She falls to her death. I'm really sorry. Really sorry. There was this video that went around years ago. People were texting. The person's texting. You're texting. You're looking down at your phone. And they smashed into another car, into a pedestrian, whatever. They killed people. I feel really bad. I wish I could take that back, but I had to send a text. And these people were all in the video saying, if I stop to think, what can you do? I wish the person wasn't dead. I wish I could bring him back. So Yitame, I'm sorry, Yitame, but listen, can't bring the Korban Pesach. And the people say, why should we be left out? We don't want to be left out. Go speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I don't know which one. Speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you know what? Let's give him another chance. This Korban Pesach they can't bring because they're tamei. In another month, we'll play it through again. There'll be another Korban Pesach. Everybody who missed the first time can do it the second time. What an unbelievable concept. What do you want from me? I was tamei. I missed the opportunity. Nothing you could do. I lost the chance. Pesach Sheni is an unbelievable thing. It means if you want it badly enough, you can recreate an opportunity. Because I don't want to be left out. I live in Eretz Yisrael. There's this amazing phenomena. It doesn't work every place. I go out on the Pesach. People downstairs come out on the Pesach. The person upstairs comes out to his Pesach. People in the next building come out to the Pesach. I make a menu. Someone has a Sefer Torah. They laid. Listen, you could just say, well, what can I do? That's what happened at the beginning, before we put this whole thing together. It's such a weird experience. I may have mentioned this in an earlier podcast. And onain is also to do mitzvahs. My father passed away on Shabbos. The funeral was going to be on Sunday. I set my alarm clock like I always do to go to shul. The alarm clock goes off, and I said, what am I getting up for? I'm not allowed to daven. I can't put on tefillin. I can't make brachas. If I do make a bracha, nobody's allowed to answer amen. Go back to sleep. So I usually go to a 7 o'clock minyan every morning. So I set the alarm clock 6:30, 6:35. Give myself time to get up and get ready, get to shul. And before we had our Mirpeset minyan, so Zman Tefillah was like, I don't know, 11 o'clock or something, You don't even bother setting your alarm clock. You get up when you get up. It's amazing because the guys who are in my online Daf Yomi, they have to get up. We do it 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So, they have to get up in the morning, come for shul, get up to Dovid, and then, go to the Daf Yomi. It's an amazing thing. Some of my shiurim that I used to do in person now are online, besides my online shiurim anyway. I have a much better attendance online than I did on person. But suddenly, it would have a minyan. So I don't want to be left out. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. What can you do? Sometimes you can't. Got an email from somebody in a particular community in Israel. He says, we tried making a Mirpeset minyan, and then people started complaining we were waking up the kids. Couldn't do it. Sometimes you can't. But the Ratzon, Pesach Sheni is about the Ratzon. If you want it badly enough, what an amazing concept. Ain't davar omed lifnei Ratzon, Chazal tells us. You can do anything. I have never been able to pull the Bas Paro trick. I've tried it many times. Bas Paro saw Moshe Rabbeinu, and she reached, and her arm went 100 amas. I've tried that. Never been able to do it. I tried. I do something at the table. I don't like to bother people. I'm reaching. Eventually, somebody passes it over to me. Which is maybe why my arm has never been able to stretch it, because people intervene. But if you want it badly enough. Pesach Sheni is about second chances, about other opportunities. I mentioned in the last podcast, I don't know if we're going through what we're going. Like I mentioned, there are plenty of people ready to share their insights. I have to tell you, I mentioned Rabbi Chaya Greenwald is upstairs from me, and his son had a bar mitzvah. Tazria Metzora, he said over this word from the Eish Kodesh. For those of you not familiar with the Eish Kodesh, the Eish Kodesh was in the Warsaw Ghetto. He wrote this sefer and he buried it. A little note that if anybody ever finds this, send it to Israel, because there won't be any Jews left in Europe, but maybe in Israel someone will publish it. And he writes an amazing concept. It says, why do you get a neged tsaras on your house? Why do you get this tsaras, this mark on your house? Because the Canaanim used to hide their treasure in the walls. So if you get this mark, then you know, dig here, X marks the spot, break it down, you'll find the treasure. But that's not the halacha. You have to show it to the Kohen. And if the Kohen says it looks like a neged tsaras, we close the house for a week. You take everything out because what's inside is all going to become tameh. Take everything out. And at the end of the week, a week of tumah, you're tameh. Can't eat kudshim, can't eat truma, you're tameh. At the end of that week, if they say it's neged tsaras, you break down the wall, you find the treasure. So says the Eish Kodesh, as soon as you see the neged tsaras, why don't you just start breaking down the wall? Why do you have to be tameh? And he says an amazing thing, mind-boggling, because he's writing for our time. He says sometimes we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu is misrachek us. He makes us tamei. And we might make the mistake of thinking that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want us, that he's sending us away. What you see from this is sometimes in order to get the treasure, you have to go through tumah. You have to go through something else. And he says, in our days, he's talking about the Holocaust, when there's no chadorim to send our children to, and there's no yeshivas, there's no bati midrashim, bati kinesios, we can't daven, there's no mikvos. We can chas v'shalom think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want us, but it's not true. This is the process we have to go through in order to get the treasure. Now, I don't know why. He doesn't give a reason why. But you see, the Torah sets it up. But sometimes we have to go through a process. These people were tamei, and okay, so I'm going to miss out. No. Because Baruch Hu is going to create a new yontif just for you called Pesach Sheni. Don't think it's, I was tamei. Because Baruch Hu doesn't want me, doesn't want my avoda. He gives you a new opportunity. Gives you another chance. Oy, opportunities. I said to somebody, they were coming over, this and mask. They said, this is called the new normal. I said, this can't be normal. It can't go on like this. Rabbi Mendy Gopin, who I've mentioned before on the podcast, he's a legend in Jewish education. So he heard the last podcast, He says, I can't leave the house. I'm immune suppressed. I can't go out. I said, so what's supposed to happen? How do we get out of this? And he said to me, the same way we got into it is the way we'll get out of it. If a HaKadosh Baruch Hu can close down the whole world in a second, he can open it back up in a second. How true. How true. I spoke last week about, look at the unbelievable ability that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has, how he can close down the whole world. But Rabbi Gopin says, and the same way he closed it down, he can open it back up. How? I don't know how. This is the final tumah. This is the final richuk. Someone told me there's a publication in Brooklyn, 50 pages of death notices. 50 pages. Devastating. Otherwise, this is it. Just at the end. The final thing that we have to go through. Yeah. There was another time about 30 years ago when we all had to lock ourselves into our rooms and put on masks. It was during the Gulf War. But that was because Iraq was shooting missiles at us. Now we have to lock ourselves into our house and put on masks because we're afraid of each other. Afraid of each other. It's the richuk, the final one. But this is what we go through in order to be able to get the tremendous matana. Jewish history, unfortunately, has had too many incidents like this. And as we mentioned, don't miss an opportunity. We have unfortunately never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. The Ger Rebbe in 1948, he says, the gates opened up for Geula. And only the Sionim, only the Zionists took advantage of it. We didn't take advantage of it. And then they pointed out the gates of Tshuva opened up, and only the Bali Tshuva were using it. Some people didn't take advantage of it. And now this is the final opportunity for everybody to say, we are going to take advantage of this last situation. There's always a phone ringing. There's always an email beeping. There's always text messages going. There's things are going on constantly. Who has time to think? It says in Masil Shasharim, when the essential parts of Avodas Hashem is his bodedus, time to sit alone and think. This is our chance to think. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us a chance. A little bit of quiet. I mean, unless you have a lot of kids and you're locked in your house, in which case forget about it. But, you know, this is that opportunity. This is that final tumah that we go through in order to be able to get the tremendous matana that's waiting for us on the other side. To all of you who have lost, tremendous nachama, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give you the strength to go on. That we have to know that it's always darkest before the dawn. I once said a Ziggy post that said it's always darkest before it's pitch black, but the Chazal say it differently. It's always darkest before the dawn. And when it gets dark, that's when the stars shine. And when it gets really dark, that's when you can see even the small stars. Says Rashi at the beginning of Sefer Shmos, the Jewish people are like stars. Each one of them has a name. Each one of them is called out by their name. Now is a time for us to become those stars, to go through this process and come out better than we went in. I don't know why. And anyone who does, there's an old expression, those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. I don't know why, neither does anybody else. But we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can open up new opportunities for us. Could you imagine everybody's chalashing to get back to shul? Everybody's chalashing to get back to shul. Could you imagine if they all go back and they start talking? I'm not chayshim. Anybody in Klal Yisrael who's been waiting so long to get back to shul. What an opportunity. I went shopping today. I had to wear my mask. It's so sad because nobody can see me smiling at them. I have to draw a smile on my mask. You know, I hope I have expressive eyes, you know. There's an expression like laughing eyes, you know. In any event, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the kayach. Go and eat your matzah brei. Enjoy your Pesach Sheni. And understand that if we say we don't want to be left out, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will open up new opportunities for us to be able to have our Avodas Hashem. And that's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, ROlofsky.com. You can leave comments. You can listen to the... I don't have an a cappella version of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show theme. So somebody wrote me and said, maybe you should have a contest. Let people submit. Let them sing the theme song a cappella. See who does it the best. You can use it during the 3 weeks and the Sefira. Yeah. So if you want, you give you an opportunity to submit your Acapulco, and that's it. You can look at my upcoming events. You can sign up for the online shiurim, and that's it. Happy Pesach Sheni, everybody, and keep strong. I'm Rabbi Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.